I woke up in a hospital bed, disoriented. I was supposed to be on my way home from shopping. Where am I? I asked the nurse. She explained that I had been rear-ended by a car and urgently transported to the hospital. My husband rushed in and exclaimed, "Why are you still lying on the bed? Let's go home, get discharged now, and make my dinner. If you can't fulfill your wife's duties, I'll divorce you." I couldn't believe what I had just heard. Who says that to their wife, especially when she's bandaged up and in pain? It was unbelievable. In that moment, I lost all my feelings for a husband who didn't seem to care about me at all. I started preparing to leave him. He was certain that I, as a housewife, couldn't possibly divorce him. Little did he know, he would be the one struggling if I brought up divorce. My name is Lisa. I became a housewife after marrying Daniel, following his wish. I never disliked my job, and my hard work had started paying off, putting me in an important position with talks of a promotion and reshuffle ahead. When I shared the news of the promotion with Daniel, he immediately insisted that I become a housewife after marriage, convinced we could get by on his salary with some savings. Overwhelmed by his passion, I quit my job. My coworkers and bosses were disappointed, but it was important for me to align with Daniel as a couple. After I quit, Daniel started to assert his superiority because he was the breadwinner, reminding me that I couldn't live without him. Looking back, he probably pushed for me to quit because he feared I might earn more than him with the promotion on the horizon. Despite this, I devoted myself to supporting Daniel's work and making our home comfortable. I managed meals, considering his schedule, and ensured perfect cleanliness. Yet Daniel couldn't resist complaining. Tonight's dinner was a bit bland, he'd say. I'd explain my reasoning, but he'd always find something to nitpick. Over time, he started coming home later, reeking of women's perfume. When I asked about his late nights and health, he'd brush me off, irritated. "I have a lot going on at work," he'd snap. "What exactly are you doing during the day?" I felt compelled to justify my every move, detailing my chores and activities. His mistrust grew, and he began demanding a daily schedule of my whereabouts. "Hey, what are you going to do today?" he'd inquire with a suspicious tone. "I plan to do the laundry and cleaning in the morning, then go grocery shopping in the afternoon." "When are you going to be back from shopping?" Daniel asked. "I can't say for sure, maybe around 4 o'clock, I replied. "Okay, got it. Don't be later than 4. I'm going to call home to check on you," he said. "Why would you do that?" "To make sure you're not slacking off on your housework," Daniel replied, starting to manage my schedule down to the hour. That day, my shopping took longer than expected, and I rushed home on my bicycle. It was already past 4 o'clock. I need to hurry back home or Daniel will get mad at me again, I thought to myself, speeding up. In my hurry, I didn't notice the car approaching from behind. The next moment, I felt an impact on my back. Before I knew it, I found myself lying in a hospital bed, trying to sit up, feeling pain throughout my body. A nurse, noticing my consciousness, hastily called for a doctor. "Oh, you're awake? You were hit by a car from behind," the doctor explained. According to him, I was rear-ended while riding my bike, fainted unconscious from the impact, and an ambulance brought me to the hospital. Fortunately, there was no bleeding or head injury, just full body bruises. Though I was in pain, there were no fractures or lasting damage, and I was told I could be discharged in a few weeks. Relieved, I checked my phone and saw a slew of missed calls from Daniel. "I need to call Daniel. He must be worried sick," I muttered to myself. The nurse quickly intervened, saying, "I've already notified your husband." Unfortunately, he couldn't pick up the call, so I left a message on his voicemail. "I might have made him worry," she explained. "Your wife was in a car accident and has been urgently transported to our hospital." The nurse had left that message in her voicemail, prompting me to call my husband. "Hey Daniel, it's me, Lisa. What the hell are you doing? Why aren't you coming home?" I asked urgently. I did listen to the voicemail. "You're awake now, right? So you can come home, can't you?" Daniel replied impatiently. "I can't come home. I was in a car accident. I'll be staying in the hospital for a few weeks," I explained, hoping he would understand the severity. "If you're being hospitalized, what?" Daniel's voice trailed off, and it seemed he had assumed my injuries weren't serious. "I'm coming right now," he abruptly said, and hung up. An hour later, Daniel burst into my hospital room. "Lisa," he exclaimed. I felt relieved to see him, but his next words left me frozen. "How long are you going to lie there?" "Let's go home," he demanded. "What? Go home? What on earth are you saying?" I couldn't hide my confusion as I responded. I can't go home. I was in a car accident today, I reminded him. Just because it was an accident doesn't mean you're knocking on death's door. You're fine. Discharge yourself immediately and make my dinner, he insisted, his tone growing more impatient. Can't you see these bandages? How do you expect me to cook in this state? I protested. You're overreacting with this hospital stay. I bet if I hadn't come to fetch you, you'd just be lazily lying on the bed. Here I am, worn out from work, and you won't even cook dinner. That's unacceptable as a wife, Daniel retorted sharply. Look, the hospital says I need to stay for a few weeks. It's not about being lazy, it's about getting necessary treatment, I insisted. Use any excuse you want, but if you think I'll let you off the hook for housework, you're wrong. If this isn't working for you, I'm okay with getting a divorce, Daniel retorted. That's ridiculous. I can't possibly do housework in this state, I argued. Well then, divorce it is, he said coldly. Daniel seemed to care more about having his housework done than the fact that I had been in a car accident. I felt myself falling out of love with him quickly. Having discovered his true feelings, I made up my mind on the spot. All right, I said. Hearing this, Daniel smirked, seemingly victorious. That's right, you should understand that my word is law. Seeing me still not trying to move, Daniel started to lose his patience. Hey, how long are you going to keep lying around? Start getting ready to leave. Just as Daniel tried to forcibly get me up, the doctor entered the room. What on earth do you think you're doing? He demanded. I was just about to take her home, Daniel responded. Upon hearing this, the doctor became livid. What nonsense. There's a thorough examination scheduled for tomorrow, so she's not allowed to leave. Hearing this, Daniel scoffed at me. If there's an examination and I'll wait 2 or 3 days, I'll stay at my parents' house in the meantime, so make sure you're home by then. As Daniel left the room, I watched him go with a cold gaze. Then I called my lawyer. I didn't have a single shred of affection left for him. Hello, I would like to proceed with that matter, I said, calling my lawyer from the hospital bed. I continued making a few more phone calls, steadily preparing for what was to come. 3 days later, Daniel called my cell. Lisa, why the hell aren't you home yet? He demanded. Are you back home from your parents' house? I asked. Yeah, I am, he grumbled. The examination's over, isn't it? Then stop lounging around and get back to the chores that have piled up. Daniel didn't even bother to ask me about the medical test results. He didn't seem to care about my health one bit. Daniel, you've been staying at your parents' place all this time, right? I asked calmly. I told you already, didn't I? So what? Did you happen to check the mail sent to your parents' house? I inquired. Mail? What on earth did you send? He asked, sounding confused. Divorce papers, I said. In fact, I had a lawyer send the divorce papers, already signed by me, to Daniel's parents' house. The divorce papers, he repeated, surprised. Why are you surprised? You were the one who said, let's get a divorce, weren't you? I reminded him. Daniel sighed as if mocking me. I never thought you were that stupid. Do you think you can live on your own after divorcing me? Who provides for you? My decision was definitely the right one. I can't start doing house chores right after the accident. I need to take better care of my health. That's why I decided to divorce you, I stated firmly. You think you can make a living after divorcing me? You rushed into this decision. Daniel laughed loudly and then hung up the phone. But Daniel had no idea what was coming next. The following day, his parents rushed to the hospital in a panic. We saw what our son has done. It's terrible, they said as they entered my hospital room, bowing their heads in apology. No, it's not your fault, I replied calmly. You're right, the person who needs to apologize is Daniel himself, my father-in-law said. He immediately called Daniel. Come to the hospital immediately, he ordered. Daniel, not understanding what was going on but hearing the seriousness in his father's voice, arrived in my room within minutes. Dad, what's going on? Why'd you call me here? Daniel complained, only to be berated by his father on the spot. Don't be stupid, you caused a mess. Apologize to Lisa right now. What? What are you talking about? Daniel asked, bewildered. My father-in-law held out the envelope I had sent to their house. This letter, which was delivered to our house, he said. Hearing this, Daniel began to laugh with an air of confidence. Oh, the divorce papers. Lisa went and took my threats seriously and sent me the papers. She wouldn't be able to live without me, yet she's acting so foolishly. "The problem is this document here," my father-in-law said, taking out a bill for consolation money from the envelope. Upon seeing it, Daniel's face turned pale. "Consolation money? Lisa was the one who sent me the divorce papers. Why should I?" Daniel stammered. "I'd be the one to pay consolation money. She abandoned her duties as a wife, checks herself into a hospital, and I'm the one who owes consolation money," Daniel protested. "Enough with all this," my father-in-law said, his voice filled with suppressed anger. He pulled out photographs and a report from the envelope. "These are the evidence of your cheating, and here's the investigator's report. Looking at these, there's no doubt you're in the wrong. I can't believe what you've done." Seeing the photos and the report, Daniel turned pale. "Lisa, when did you manage to get all this?" I had started to suspect Daniel's cheating when he began coming home late, claiming it was for work. He would return each night smelling of women's perfume. At first, I thought he was just drinking at places frequented by women, but when I discreetly checked his credit card statements, I discovered he was dining at trendy restaurants and buying popular brands loved by young women. It was obvious he was spending money on dates with another woman. His behavior became more blatant over time. He started increasing the frequency of his affairs, finding opportunities during his outdoor work hours and even on weekdays. The detailed checks on my daytime activities were his way of avoiding running into me during his meetings with her. Still, I held on to the hope that he would return to me someday. However, Daniel trampled all over these feelings, showing no concern for me after the accident and treating me like a maid. At that moment, I decided to exact my revenge on him. As soon as Daniel left the hospital room, I took action. I contacted my lawyer and asked him to send the signed divorce papers and the bill for consolation money, which I had prepared in advance, to Daniel's parents' house. Knowing him, he was probably spending time with his mistress instead of going home to his family. My guess was spot on. Unlike my husband, my in-laws are upright people who would never approve of their son's cheating. Sure enough, upon receiving my letter, my father-in-law and his wife were quick to rush to my hospital room. Having learned everything, Daniel stood there in a daze. "So, Lisa, you knew about my cheating all along?" "Yes, of course," I replied, looking at him with icy eyes. "You come home smelling like women's perfume, and you lavish your mistress with your credit card. It's so obvious it would be strange if I didn't notice. Plus, all your phone notifications were visible to me, so I knew exactly when and where you were meeting your mistress. Thanks to that, it was easy to gather evidence." "I'm sorry. I was just tempted. I wasn't serious about the divorce. I thought you would come back home right away," Daniel stammered. "Even if you weren't serious, I am. I don't want to continue a marriage with a husband who doesn't even worry when his wife has an accident and tries to make her do household chores. You were having fun with your mistress while I was hospitalized, weren't you?" I accused. "Hold on, calm down. You're a housewife, right? You wouldn't be able to make a living if you left me. Don't be stubborn. Just let the past be water under the bridge," Daniel pleaded. "Excuse me, there's no way I can just let it slide. I became a housewife because you wanted me to. If I get divorced, I'll start working right away. I won't rely on you anymore," I asserted. "Start working right away? How long do you think it's been since you quit your job? Your previous company has definitely found your replacement by now," he scoffed. "Do you think I've just been doing housework all these years? I've been continuously studying business in my spare time," I revealed confidently. "I've got a few ideas lined up, so I could probably propose several projects now," I said confidently. "It's not that easy. The economy is down everywhere. Even I, who's been working the whole time, can't get a promotion easily," Daniel retorted. "Isn't that because you're incompetent at work? A person who dates their mistress during outdoor work hours has bigger problems than just capability," I shot back. What would you know?" he snapped. "I think I know more than you do. In fact, when I approached my former company, they said they wanted me back under the same conditions as before," I revealed. "The same conditions? You'd be earning more than me," he said, shocked. "Yes, indeed. It was all for nothing, even though you were the one who encouraged me to become a housewife and quit my job. If you didn't want to be overtaken by your wife's salary, maybe you should have tried harder instead of pulling me down," I retorted. "Hold on. If that's the case, you don't need the consolation money, right? Please withdraw your claim," he pleaded. "Excuse me, there's no way I'm withdrawing it. This consolation money is to make up for the wrong you did. You can't just cheat on your wife and ignore her without facing any penalties." I said firmly. I'm sorry. I really regret it. Please forgive me, he begged. I will never forgive you. It's not enough to just say you're sorry. You need to show it with your actions. Go to hell, I said coldly. Daniel was unconvinced, but in the end, my in-laws stood up for me, and he finally agreed to the divorce and the payment of the consolation money. After paying the money, Daniel seemed to continue his relationship with his mistress without learning his lesson. However, it seems his company found out about his frequent dating during outdoor work hours, and he ended up getting demoted and having his salary cut. To top it all off, Daniel, who had almost run out of savings due to the consolation money payment, was promptly dumped by his girlfriend. News about the cause of his divorce and his demotion spread throughout the company, and I heard that he completely lost his place there. On the other hand, I was able to be discharged from the hospital safely without any after effects from the accident. I used the consolation money I received to move, and now I'm settling into my new home leisurely. My work after returning has been going smoothly, and life has been better since the divorce. That accident may have been a good catalyst for the divorce. I decided not to look back at the past and strive forward to a new life. My daughter, Erin, now a college student, has been living independently for about a year despite receiving a reasonable monthly allowance and supposedly dedicating herself to a part-time job. When Erin returned home, she looked worn out and thin. Are you pushing yourself too hard? Are you getting enough to eat? I asked with concern. I'm managing with things like cereal, she replied. But I crave more. Yet Erin fell silent, confirming my uneasy suspicions. She thanked me, saying, "Thanks for the $13 a month, Mom." I couldn't believe what I heard. $13? I've been transferring $1,300 every month. My name is Laura. People have always said I have poor judgment in men. My first boyfriend in college cheated on me within 3 months. Then I dated a younger guy who became a freeloader, likely because I was footing the bills. The man I married after 4 years of dating turned out to be both a spendthrift and a cheat. After divorcing him, I raised Erin as a single mom for 10 years. Erin, whom I once perceived as young and naive, has matured into a dependable daughter, taking the lead in household chores. Despite my insistence that she need not exert herself so much, she remains steadfast, asserting, "You're already doing so much for us, Mom. I worry you'll burn out if I don't help." Moreover, Erin never slacks in her studies. "I want to contribute like you, Mom. I don't want to be a burden," she expresses, diligently preparing for her college entrance exams since her high school days. Though she may exhibit traces of naivety, I wholeheartedly believe she's an exceptional daughter. After diligent studying, Erin received the long-awaited acceptance letter from a prestigious public university. Together, we eagerly searched the bulletin board until we spotted Erin's applicant number, and we clasped hands in joy. As the days swiftly passed before her college journey began, we decided to take a celebratory hot spring trip, relishing every moment of the relaxation. While immersed in the soothing warmth up to my shoulders, I glimpsed my daughter, her cheeks rosy with contentment, and I found her endearing words, "Mom, this is so wonderful," deeply touching. In that serene moment, I silently vowed to protect her with all my heart, no matter what challenges lay ahead. As Erin embarked on her college journey, she left the nest with a blend of pride in her growth and a hint of loneliness. I bid her farewell, watching her set off on her new path. Since Erin began living independently, our nightly phone calls became a cherished ritual. With her knack for household chores and reliability beyond her years, I didn't harbor major concerns about her solo living arrangements. Yet the notion of a young woman navigating life alone stirred a lingering unease within me. I questioned if my worries were excessive, but Erin's cheerful conversations each evening brought me solace. Those end-of-day calls became my much-needed moments of relaxation. Erin would often share details about her college life, her classes, her new friends, her involvement in the music club, and the intriguing upperclassmen she encountered there. Hearing about her vibrant daily experiences filled me with joy. Near the semester's end, Erin's voice carried a hint of tension as she shared, "You know what?" To my delight, she revealed the happy news. "I've started dating someone." The lucky guy was Ian, the senior she met at the club. While I congratulated her with genuine enthusiasm, a twinge of concern lingered within me. As the daughter of someone often deemed unlucky in love, I couldn't shake the worry that perhaps my own romantic misfortunes had been inherited by her. Sensing my unease, Erin cautiously inquired, "Would you like to meet him someday?" I reassured her with a bright tone, Absolutely. When summer vacation began, Aaron returned home, accompanied by Ian. Upon meeting him, I discovered Ian to be a well-groomed and polite young man. Pleasure to meet you, I'm Ian. I'm dating your daughter. He greeted me with a firm handshake as soon as I opened the door. His demeanor exuded responsibility, easing any lingering concerns I had. Ian sported no tattoos or piercings, yet carried himself with a refined air. The rolled-up sleeves of his shirt added a touch of classic charm, evoking memories of my own youthful attractions. A curious sense of nostalgia washed over me in his presence. We sat down for iced tea together, and I quickly noticed that Ian was not only responsible but also incredibly thoughtful. He graciously offered to carry the tray of iced tea I had prepared and promptly refilled my empty cup when it ran low. Ian seems like a really decent guy, I whispered to Aaron when he briefly left the table. Aaron chuckled shyly. Well, Mom, you were worried, weren't you? Of course, darling. It's only natural for a mother, I replied. Aaron laughed. But honestly, Mom, I'm doing just fine. I think I've got better luck in love than you. We both shared a hearty laugh at that, and I couldn't help but agree. You might be onto something there. As the second semester commenced, Aaron, determined not to be a burden, took on multiple jobs to support herself. Despite my monthly financial support for emergencies, she seemed intent on saving every penny for the future. Trusted by her employers, Aaron juggled school and worked tirelessly, leaving little time for her club activities. Concerned, I asked, "Are you sure you're managing? Don't hesitate to use the money I send, and do you need me to come help with chores?" Aaron replied softly, "I'm okay," her voice tinged with wariness. Since Aaron couldn't attend the club anymore, Ian began frequenting our home out of concern. "You have your own worries, don't you? I can handle things myself, really. I'm fine," Aaron reassured him. "If you say so," Ian replied, though his worry lingered. One evening, returning from work, I was greeted by the aroma of a surprise hamburger Ian had prepared. It was delicious. Having Ian around makes things easier. Aaron's cheerful tone betrayed her fondness for him. As time passed, Aaron's calls grew less frequent due to her busy schedule. She'd update me sporadically, but it was evident she was juggling a lot. Despite my reassurances, I couldn't shake the worry. Ian made sure she ate well on his visits, but on other days, Aaron resorted to cereal for sustenance. Despite my financial support, it seemed she was struggling. Aaron wasn't one to squander money, so the situation puzzled me deeply. When I confided in my mother, she brushed off my concerns, remarking, "You're worrying excessively about your adult daughter. It's hard to let go." Perhaps she was right. Aaron would turn 19 soon. Though she still seemed like a child to me, the world saw her as an adult, especially with Ian by her side. Maybe I should just trust that she'll ask for help if she really needs it, I mused, attempting to ease my anxiety. Yet finding peace amid my worries proved challenging. Winter break arrived, and Aaron's return home revealed a noticeable change. She appeared thinner than before, her once slender frame now visibly diminished. Dark circles mirrored her tired eyes. When she explained she had been working late the previous night, coming straight home thereafter, concern flooded me. "Aaron, are you pushing yourself too hard lately? Are you eating properly?" I inquired, unable to hide my worry. "I'm eating properly, cereal and such," Aaron responded. Her sudden silence spoke volumes. Hastily she added, "But I've mastered the art of cereal." Her smile strained. It seemed forced, prompting a gnawing worry within me. Was she truly eating well? Despite my consistent financial support and her diligent work, a troubling sensation crept over me. Aaron's next words only heightened my unease. "Thanks for the $13 every month, Mom." "$13? I send you $1,300 every month," I replied, stunned by the revelation. A sense of foreboding gripped me. "Aaron, where do you keep your checkbook and debit card?" "It's in my desk drawer at home," Aaron replied. "I'm heading to your place now, Aaron. There's something I need to check," I announced suddenly. Aaron looked surprised by my abrupt declaration but nodded in agreement. As we rode the train to her apartment, conversation flowed between us. The first topic broached was the matter of her mistaken allowance. Aaron explained that she maintained a living expenses account for her part-time earnings and a savings account where I deposited her allowance. She had recently depleted her savings purchasing textbooks and other necessities for the new semester. When she checked her account balance, it was a mere $78. Despite my consistent financial support, she had never inquired about the exact amount. Assuming the $78 was the sum total of my contributions over 6 months, she calculated it to approximately $13 per month. Is that about right? I asked. I thought so, but I thought you might be struggling too, Mom. Honestly, you're such a silly girl. How much do you think I earned? Don't underestimate me, Erin retorted to my semi-joking remark. Her words seemed to ease the tension momentarily, but a shadow crossed her face once more. It dawned on me why Erin hadn't accessed the money I sent. Someone must have gained access to her bank account, and the most suspicious candidate was Ian, who frequented her apartment. Erin appeared to be in denial, and I found myself reluctant to entertain the idea that her seemingly kind boyfriend would be involved in theft. I nervously watched as the train approached the nearest station. Upon reaching Erin's home, we hurriedly retrieved her checkbook and made a beeline for the nearest ATM at the bank. With evening drawing near and the clock ticking past late afternoon, time was of the essence. We inserted the checkbook into the ATM and anxiously awaited the update. The balance displayed on the checkbook left us both speechless. Despite the consistent deposits of $1,300 each month, there were clear signs of frequent withdrawals. Erin's complexion paled as she whispered softly, "Why?" Concerned by her visibly strained state, I escorted Erin to a nearby coffee shop, where I resolved to delve deeper into the issue at hand. My primary focus was understanding how her checkbook was being managed. Erin disclosed that she stored her checkbook and debit card in a locked drawer within her desk. However, the key to this drawer was stored elsewhere, making it accessible to anyone entering the apartment. The only individual with the potential to access her room in her absence was her boyfriend, Ian, who possessed the spare key. Furthermore, the PIN associated with her debit card was the same as the one she commonly used for her other cards. It became evident that someone had likely observed her during a money withdrawal. I must admit, I was careless when setting up the account. I'm sorry, honey. Mom should have been more careful, I confess. I never anticipated someone else would access the money. It's not your fault, Mom. I should have been more vigilant in managing it, Erin responded. Well, we both share responsibility, I interjected, but the person at fault here is the one who spent money without permission. Yeah, you're right, Erin replied, her tone lacking its usual vigor. Understandably so, she had been betrayed by the person she likely trusted the most. Witnessing my daughter so crestfallen tugged at my heartstrings. I'll handle this, I declared unexpectedly. What? You may want to downplay this, but it's a serious offense. We need to gather evidence and report it to the police. The police? Erin's voice quivered, clearly unsettled. Yes, it's necessary, but don't worry. I'll handle everything. It's all to ensure your peace of mind during college, all right? I reassured her, and Erin nodded reluctantly. A few days later, I sought the help of a private detective agency, the same one that assisted me when my husband was suspected of infidelity. I need you to investigate my daughter's boyfriend. His name is Ian Mack. He's a sophomore in economics at the same university as my daughter. We suspect he may have been misusing the money I've been sending to her, I explained, displaying a photo of Ian from Erin's messages on my phone. They agreed to take on the case without hesitation, despite their steep fees. It was a necessary expense to resolve this matter for Erin's sake. As we awaited the results of the investigation, Erin chose to commute to college from my house due to her anxiety. The journey took over an hour each way, which proved challenging for Erin, but she found solace in returning home each evening. One night, she prepared granola for dinner. Just like you said, I've become quite the cereal connoisseur, Erin remarked with a confident wink. My heart ached at the realization that she must have been eating this meal almost daily. A month later, the investigation's findings arrived. There was undeniable evidence that Ian had been making unauthorized withdrawals from Erin's account. According to the investigator, shortly after Ian and Erin began dating, his lifestyle markedly improved, as attested by his friends. What shocked me even more was that Ian's transgressions didn't stop there. It turned out he was involved with several other women. I was handed a collection of photographs, Ian with his arm around different women, happily dining at restaurants, enjoying arcades, and strolling through hotel districts. In each image, a man with a distinctive beauty mark, a teardrop tattoo, was unmistakably Ian. It seems Ian hasn't just been using the money you've been sending your daughter to impress his friends, he's also been using it to maintain relationships with multiple girlfriends, the investigator grimly informed me. Thank you, I replied, bowing my head deeply. It was time to take action. I filed a complaint with the police and sent written explanations of Ian's actions to his parents, his university, and all of his girlfriends. Initially, Ian denied everything, but he eventually confessed when confronted by multiple girlfriends. Naturally, all of the girlfriends, including Aaron, severed ties with him. As a result of the police investigation, Ian was expelled from the university and sent back to his parents' home. Fortunately, his parents were reasonable and came to my house with a humble gift to apologize. For the time being, his parents have agreed to reimburse the stolen money. "I'll make our stupid son repay this, even if it kills him," Ian's father vowed, his voice choked with emotion. According to what Aaron heard through the grapevine, Ian is now working multiple jobs to repay his parents. By the time this ordeal settled, spring had arrived. To mark the end of this unfortunate chapter, we decided to celebrate Aaron's spring break with our first trip to a hot spring resort in over a year. Erin had managed to reclaim her life since then, her complexion and physique returning to a healthy state. As we soaked in the warm baths, indulged in delicious food from the inn, and relaxed in front of the TV, I felt like we were finally able to enjoy some peace after a long while. Just before drifting off, Erin's voice came from beneath the covers. "Hey, what's on your mind? Remember how you and Dad split because of his reckless spending and affairs, right?" Erin's words caught me off guard. My ex-husband, much like Ian, was someone who flaunted wealth to impress others, yet struggled to cover basic expenses due to his extravagant habits and moral lapses. "I served my ex-husband with divorce papers, just as you did with Ian. It seems we have a pattern of choosing similar types of men, don't we?" Erin offered a rueful smile. "Indeed, we'll have to be more cautious from now on," I replied, trying to sound upbeat despite feeling a bit uneasy. "By the way, you seem happier lately. Did you meet someone special?" "No way, it's not a boyfriend," Erin exclaimed teasingly. "Could he possibly become one?" "Lately, I have been developing a friendship with the investigator assigned to our case, but I hadn't mentioned it to Erin yet. Even so, was there a spark, or was it just the bond between a mother and daughter who've been through a lot together?" "Hang on, are you sure it's going to work out this time, Mom?" Erin teased with a playful chuckle. "Well, it should, right? Unlike your father, he seems serious and dependable. But let's get serious here. If it's my turn after all this, Mom, it won't be a laughing matter," I replied, adopting a serious tone. "Got it? I'll tread carefully," Erin responded solemnly. But then, unable to contain our amusement, we exchanged a look and burst into laughter.